Hi guys, I'm here with my first Theros sealed. This is a release event, and I'm actually recording this voice narration after the event. I'm still working out the technical kinks, and so I'll be getting better at it. But the audio got messed up the first time I was recording this, and I also was unable to record the first round. But I got the rest of the rounds, and those rounds will have the recordings from when I was actually in the event, so you'll be able to see that. Uh, when I was recording this was my first sealed event. I played in a pre-release in China, and but this is the first time I did a sealed event, and it's slightly different because in the pre-release you have the promos when you choose the path that you want to take, the color that you want to take. So you're sort of pigeonholed into taking into going into a certain color. So when I did my pre-release, I picked the blue path, but now I'm free to do whatever I want. So I chose to do what I chose to do based on what cards I had. So here you see that I have a Master Waves, a Temple of the Seat, Shipbreaker Kraken, all very good cards. So my initial thought was that I wanted to go blue-black, and I saw some of the, as you'll see later, I saw some of the good red cards, some removal spells that I was thinking about splashing for. So first I decided to take a look at white, and I decided immediately that there weren't enough playables to go into white, so I immediately threw that out. The cards in here in the white were just not up to par, and I knew the blue cards and the black cards were the cards that I was thinking about looking at. I had a lot of good blue cards in this event, but I ended up looking at all of them. So I was looking at this one. I was looking at Stymied Hopes, and there are not that many counter spells in this format. There's only Dissolve and Stymied Hopes, I believe. So it's not something, it's something to consider because it's such a unique effect, but it's just so low powered that I didn't think it was worth putting in the deck. So I didn't put it in the deck. Uh, just a brief side note. The nice thing about these pre-release these release events is that they're now only 20 ticks as opposed to I believe the previous price used to be 30 ticks. So it's nice that they're cheaper now, so you can play more. And of course, the prizes are reduced as a result of this. But I'd be more willing to play more more times than get fewer prizes. So now I'm looking at my black cards. Return Phalanx is pretty good on its own, and the fact that I'm able to activate it is also pretty sweet. I also had two Gray Merchants and a Sip of Hemlock. All of those cards are very good. I think I made a mistake in building this deck, though. I didn't include Return from the Underworld, which would have been a pretty sick card to have. I didn't main deck it. I ended up bringing it in a couple of my games, but I think it would have been worth bringing in because it's really good with Gray Merchant, obviously, but I think it would have served me better than some of the other cards that I played. Um, Mainly, the card that I did include was Psychic Intrusion instead of Rescue from the Underworld, which might have been a mistake. Those are the red cards that I was thinking about splashing for. The Lightning Strike and the two Rage of Perforoses. I think I ended up cutting. Yeah, I ended up cutting one of the Rages, so I only ended up with a Lightning Strike and a Rage. Now I'm looking at the green cards. I had some pretty good green cards, but nothing worth like it wasn't worth playing over the blue or possibly the black. It might have been correct to play blue green. Looking back, I'm not sure, but I think I really wanted to play the Psychic Intrusion, just try it out, and I had some pretty powerful black cards. I had obviously the two Great Merchants, the removal spells, and the Sip of Hemlock, and the Farrakhan's Cure, and I had Read the Bones. So I had some pretty good black cards. And here I'm going back and forth between what black cards I should be playing, whether I should play Rescue from the Underworld, whether I should play the Aura that draws a card. The Aura is too low impact, I think, but Rescue might have been good. The only gold card I could play was the Psychic Intrusion, and here I was debating between. This is why I was thinking about splashing. I figured that it would have been basically free for me to splash the red cards because not only did I have the unknown shores, which I'm looking at right now, but I also had two burnished hearts and one traveler's amulet. So getting my red mana would be pretty easy. So I'd be able to play all those removal spells. I ended up cutting one of the rages though because I wanted to play 18 lands in this deck, and I couldn't find another cut. Although it probably also was a mistake to cut the removal spell. I I mean I probably could have built this pool slightly differently and perhaps have done better, as you'll find out later on. But I think it was pretty solid for like the first time playing through this format. Here I'm cutting the Wave Crash Tritons and the Triton Fortune Hunters because I don't really have that many ways to activate Heroic. Not too many enablers. I have the Bestow, Flying Bestow guy, and that's pretty much it, I think. I mean, I don't want to be grip tiding my own guy. I don't want to use my removal spells on my own guy, obviously. And I mean, what I want to do with this deck is obviously make it to the long game so that I can play my big spells like the Shipbreaker Kraken and win the game from there. And also, I could survive to the end game by playing the Gray Merchants and other things that would just stall the game out until I got to my bigger threats. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't have some of the key cards for this archetype in my pool. Like I didn't have any of the what's that card called? Uh, I'm blanking right now on what the card's called, but there. I certainly could have, it would have been nice to get some other cards, but I think I ended up with an okay deck. So here I am flipping back and forth between whether I want to play the Traveler's Amulet and the red cards. And I think at this point I conclude that because I have the Burnished Hearts and the Traveler's Amulets, that the red splash is just very easy to to have. And they're also only single colored mana costs in my splash. You generally don't want to be splashing for double colored costed spells. So, for example, Farrakha's Cure is not splashable, and um, you know, you generally want to be playing single colored splashes. So, having having Rage and Lightning Strike as single colored spells was pretty good. So let's see. I'm at 24 cards right now, and then one land, so that brings me up to 25 cards. I'm debating some cuts. Sphinx is pretty good. Sip of Hemlock is pretty good. I think I cut this Coastline Chimera. Might have been a mistake because now my Master Waves doesn't have very many blue permanents to activate it, to activate its ability and take advantage of its ability. As you may or may not have seen from the recent Pro Tour, the Master Waves is very, very good when you have a lot of blue permanents, obviously. And I don't think I played enough blue permanents to have my devotion go up high enough. So as you'll see later from the games, my Master of Waves was pretty underwhelming. I was kind of excited to play it, but I knew that because it wouldn't be as streamlined as a draft, that my I wouldn't be able to abuse it as much as I could have. Uh, in Sealed, though, Master of Waves is not the most game-breaking mythic, I don't think, just because you can't focus your deck well enough. Or I mean, perhaps you could have I could have if I had built my pool slightly differently to take advantage of it. And maybe it was worth doing because it's such a powerful effect. Maybe I should have just built my skewed my pool in such a way that I have more blue permanents. And maybe I didn't need to include the red splash. But it was. I think it was so easy to splash that I figured that I might as well have run it. Psychic Intrusion was a card that I thought was going to be pretty good. I had seen it do some work in some of the SCG open events with the sealed events, but in the games that I ended up playing it in, it was pretty underwhelming. I think you'll see in the two games that I played later, or maybe one of the games, I cast it and I rip a card out of my opponent's hand, but I never had a chance to cast that card that I stole from him because I just didn't have time. I was so far behind that I couldn't cast the card. And other times the Psychic Intrusion would rip out my opponent's best card in his hand, but then he'd top deck another really good card, and uh, he would go on and play that card. It happened to me twice in the following matches, which was really frustrating. So maybe Psychic Intrusion isn't the greatest card, but I thought that maybe if it was in a slow game, in a slow match, it would be pretty decent. I probably should have. It's probably some more sideboard material, honestly, than main deck, and maybe I should have played more blue creatures. Like maybe I should have played at least the Coastline Chimera instead of the Psychic Intrusion, and then I could have had more blue permanents for my Master of Waves and more creatures to stall the board until I got to the Shipbreaker Kraken. That's okay though. This format is still relatively new, and I'm getting better at it. But the only way to get better is to try to test out these new cards and see how good they are. So here I'm looking at all these cards. I didn't think any of the things, these artifacts, were worth playing except for the Traveler's Amulet. And I'm looking at Prowler's Helm right now. I'm pointing at it. I think the only creature in the format that's a wall is Mnemonic Wall. So it basically makes your creature unblockable, but it's like not very good. I don't think you want to be wasting your turn on equipping your guy just to get through walls, unless you are really heavy heroic or you have no other way to get through your opponent's like ground defenses or something. Here I'm playing the Unknown Shore, which brings me up to 22 spells, and then giving me room for 18 lands, which is what I ended up playing. As you saw, I cut one of the Rages of Perforos, which also might have been a mistake. Looking at some of the blue cards, seeing if I'm missing something. Austin the Red Labyrinth. Not really what I'm trying to do here. Aquatious Form, same thing. Simian Hooves, as I said, I think it was a little bit too low impact. These Triton cards, the Merfolk, I just didn't have enough enablers for it. I think the only real consideration would have been the Coastline Chimera, which might have been correct to play. 5 toughness is a lot. 1/5. And I would generally not be able to play the activated ability, but with Unknown Shores, I would be able to activate the white ability in the Coastline Chimera's cost. But you don't really want to. I mean, you're not playing the card just to activate the ability. It's a pretty good defensive body for its cost. So 4 mana, 1/5 flyer, and blocks most of the things in the format. It's tough to kill. Like my Rage of Perforos wouldn't kill it. My Lightning Strikes wouldn't kill it. Here I think I'm deciding on the black cards that I want to take to pick up and put in my deck. There I am taking the Rescue from the Underworld. Oh, see, look, I'm putting the cards that I think should make my deck. The Skeleton I didn't think was good enough to make my deck, so I didn't include that. Also, the Viper's Kisses I was considering. It's a little low impact, but it does stop Monstrosity, and it kills X1s, but I don't end up deciding to put the Viper's Kisses in my deck, I believe. Yeah, but the real considerations, I believed, in my opinion, at the time, were the Coastline Chimera, the Rescue from the Underworld, and then the last card, the Aura, which I didn't. I think that's less of a. There was a less of a chance of me playing the Aura because I only have, let's see, I only have 12 creatures at this point in my build, but I think it certainly would have been correct to play Coastline Chimera and possibly Rescue from the Underworld, just because I could have used the Grey Merchants to much greater effect, but I ended up not running those, and that might have been a mistake. It might also have been a mistake not to splash for these red cards, but I thought they were good enough, and it was such a free splash that I might as well have gone for it. But maybe it would have been better to have been just straight 2-color and playing the Chimera and the Chimera and the Rescue from the Underworld. The problem with having Master Waves and Gray Merchant in the same deck is that now I'm split between dividing my devotion between blue and black, and now I won't be able to fully abuse either. Viper's Kisses would have increased my devotion to black now that I think about it. So perhaps it would have been correct to include some, at least one. But at this point, I think I commit and decide to add some lands. The Moto suggestion is 7-7-2, 7 islands, 7 swamps, 2 mountains, and I couldn't disagree with it at this point. I thought that was a pretty good split. I mean, having an extra mountain, so I could cast my red splash. I might not have needed it, but it's nice. And it's searched out by Burnished Heart. I have the unknown choice to cast red as well. I don't end up playing the Traveler's Amulet, but I think I have enough at this point. So yeah, that's it for deck construction, and I submit, and I'll see you guys in the next rounds.